Español 3, Unidad 7, Lección A, Gramática. Comparisons of inequality. Más que means more than, and menos que means less than. They are used with adjectives and adverbs to make comparisons. For example, María es más baja que Pilar. María is shorter than Pilar. Ella cocina más frecuentemente que yo. She cooks more frequently than I do. El pollo es menos sabroso que el tocino. Chicken is less tasty than bacon. Some adjectives have irregular comparative forms. For example, bueno means good, mejor means better. Malo means bad, peor means worse. Joven means young, menor means younger. Viejo means old, mayor means older. Pequeño means small, menor means smaller. Grande means big, mayor means bigger. Esta tienda es peor que la otra. This store is worse than the other one. Esta manzana está mejor que aquella. This apple is better than that one. Ella es menor que mi hermana. She is younger than my sister. Ella es mayor que yo. She is older than I am. Adverbs also have irregular forms. Mal turns into peor. For example, Mario canta peor que Marco. Mario sings worse than Marco. Bien turns into mejor. For example, ella cocina mejor que yo. She cooks better than I do. Comparisons of equality. So express inequality with adverbs and adjectives. You use tan plus an adjective or adverb plus como to compare qualities or characteristics of people or things. It translates to as in English. For example, las peras están tan jugosos or jugosas como las uvas. The pears are as juicy as the grapes. Los chicos escriben tan claramente como las chicas. The boys write as clearly as the girls. Expressing equality in quantity. You use tanto, tanta, tantos, or tantas plus a noun plus como to compare amounts. Tanto must agree in gender and number with the noun. It translates to as much as or as many as. For examples, hay tantos restaurantes en esta calle como en la otra. There are as many restaurants on this street as on the other one. Necesitamos tantas zanahorias como papas. We need as many carrots as potatoes. Now expressing equality in actions. You use tanto como after a verb to compare the amount of an action performed. For examples, ellas viajan tanto como nosotros. They travel as much as we do. No leo tanto como mis compañeros. I don't read as much as my classmates. Now let's look at superlatives. Using the superlative is used to single out one item or individual compared to others. The formula, el, la, los, or las, plus más or menos, plus an adjective or adverb, plus de. For example, este restaurante es el más elegante del barrio. This restaurant is the most elegant in the neighborhood. Estos tomates son los más frescos del supermercado. These tomatoes are the freshest in the supermarket. Esta fresa es la menos dulce de la caja. This strawberry is the least sweet in the box. Now some irregular adjectives in the superlatives. So some adjectives have irregular forms. For example, este café es el mejor de todos. This coffee is the best of all. Mi hermano menor es el más joven de la familia. My younger brother is the youngest in the family. Pero esta opción es la peor, but this option is the worst. Some optional use of de. When the context is clear, de in the noun can be omitted. For example, este queso es el más suave de la tienda. This cheese is the softest in the store. You can take out de with this. Este queso es el más suave. This cheese is the softest. You can also intensify with using the word tan. You use tan before adjectives and adverbs for emphasis. For example, Estas uvas están tan dulces. These grapes are so sweet. Pedro, no hables tan fuerte. Pedro, don't talk so loud. And you use the absolute superlative with isimo or isima. So to express something as extraordinarily good or bad, etc., you would drop the final vowel of the adjective and add isimo or isima. For example, estos melocotones están deliciosísimos. These peaches are extremely delicious. Mira este vestido es carísimo. Look at this dress, it's extremely expensive. So some spelling changes with isimo and isima. Amable becomes amabilisimo. Rica becomes riquísima. Larga becomes larguísima. And feliz becomes felicísimo. Now let's look at the passive voice, past participles, and say. So understanding the passive voice. In the passive voice, the subject is not the one performing the action, but rather the one receiving the action. The passive voice is formed using a form of ser and the past participle of the verb. The past participle must agree in gender and number with the subject. For example, las verduras fueron cocidas. The vegetables were cooked. Using por in the passive voice. The passive voice is often used with por, meaning by, to indicate who performed the action. For example, mi madre preparó la cena. My mother prepared the dinner. You could use the passive voice and say, la cena fue preparada por mi madre. The dinner was prepared by my mother. There are also some tense variations in the passive voice. It can be used in the present, past, and future by changing the tense of ser while keeping the past participle. Let's look at some examples. El pastel es decorado por el chef. The cake is decorated by the chef. El pastel fue decorado ayer. The cake was decorated yesterday. El pastel será decorado mañana. The cake will be decorated tomorrow. Using se for passive constructions. The passive voice can also be expressed using se, which makes the sentence more impersonal and natural in Spanish. For example, los platos fueron lavados por el mesero. The dishes were washed by the waiter. Se lavaron los platos. The dishes were washed. Using se makes the sentence sound more natural, and it's more commonly used in Spanish. Using a star with the past participle. So a star is used with the past participle to describe a state or condition that results from a previous action. The past participle acts as an adjective and must agree in gender and number with the noun that it modifies. Forming the past participle. So for AR verbs, you remove the infinitive ending and you add ado, for example, horneado, meaning baked. For ER and IR verbs, you remove the infinitive ending and add ido. For example, vendido, meaning sold, batido, meaning beaten. Let's look at an example in a sentence. El pan está tostado. The bread is toasted. Now there are, of course, some irregular past participles that you should be familiar with. Abrir becomes abierto. Cubrir becomes cubierto. Decir, dicho. Devolver, devuelto. Escribir, escrito. Hacer, hecho. Morir, muerto. Poner, puesto. Resolver, resuelto. Romper, roto. Ver, visto. And volver, vuelto. Se can also be used for accidental occurrences. It's used to describe accidental or unintentional events. For example, se rompió el vaso, the glass broke. Se is also used with indirect object pronouns. An indirect object pronoun, me, te, le, nos, os, or les, can be added to indicate who is affected by the accidental action. For example, Se te cayó el teléfono. You dropped your phone.